Hey CS1B students, we're here at your home away from home, the Computer Science Lab on the 3rd floor of the Science Math building. And I'm here with student aid guru Dustin, and he's going to give us a brief intro into how to get started at the CS Lab.
When you enter the CS Lab, you must sign in on one of these computers to keep track of your lab hours. To sign in, please input your Saddleback student ID. It should be the one that's 6 numbers long. It will then prompt you to enter one of your reasons for your visit, which should be a CS class. So you pick your CS class from the list. Press continue, and you're done with your login. Hey, this is Dustin here, and I'm going to show you how to use the computers in the lab for your CS assignments and for all the goodies. So one of the things you need to do first of all is go to an accessible computer. Now when you're at that computer, it says press Control-Delete to log in. And from there, it prompts you for a username and password. Your username is going to be typically your first name, first initial. So it's, for me, I'm Dustin, so it's D. And then followed by your last name, followed by a number. That should be the same as your MySite, or more often Blackboard username. Your password is going to be whatever that password is for your Blackboard. So it's all attributed to whatever your Blackboard is. So once you're logged in, you'll have your desktop open and you'll have a few programs, hopefully, on your desktop at the bottom of the taskbar or in your start menu folder. So if for some reason you can't find anything on here, then I'll show you how to do it with your start menu folder. But the program you're going to look for when you're doing your coding is Eclipse, and that's this cool little purple circle. So if I go to start in my programs, I can find Eclipse at the top over here. It's not in a folder, it's just hanging out, which is nice and easy to find. Now the next part I'm going to talk to you about is bringing a flash drive to lab so you can save your information on it. If you guys aren't familiar with how to use a USB flash drive, you can ask a lab aide, but if you are familiar with it, you can figure out how to plug it into the computer. We have a lot of USB flash drive ports on the computers, and we also have them on the side of the monitor on this side. So as you can see, hopefully, we're being prompted for a workspace by Eclipse when you open it up. A workspace is where you store all your file folders for your projects. So luckily our USB has been recognized as USB. So what I want to do, where I want to save all my program folders, is on that USB. So I'll click the USB, which is labeled as Drive E, and I've designated that as my new workspace. So when I do that, I create a folder that contains all of my project folders that I'm going to have in the future. And just right now it's loading up the program. It's kind of a big program. And here we go. We've been welcomed to Eclipse. It gave us a little welcome window. This is going to happen the first time you make a workspace. You can just close it off with the X. And here is the main shebang. This is what you're going to see every time you're in the lab. Everyone's going to be on here. This is Eclipse. This is your IDE. Now, what do we do with our IDE? Maybe you have your first assignment and you want to figure out how to get it going. Well, you need to make your first project, is the deal. So, just like if you're making Microsoft Word documents and stuff, you need to go to File, on the top, and go to New, and then over here it says C++ project. This is the language that you're going to be coding in your first semesters. And it prompts us for a project name. So think about if you're making a Microsoft Word document, it has to be, your main topic. You can say it's assignment 1, or you could say, in this case, I'll call it Hello World. And then click Finish. So I said this was going to be like Microsoft Word. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as Microsoft Word, because for each new assignment you have, you need to make not only a file, but you have to have a folder as well to contain that file. And I'll show you why. So the folder is now opened on the side since I made it. And over here, if I want a file in it, because it's currently empty, I could right click it and go New C, it has a little plus on it, C source file, or I could go up here and say File New C source file. So you have both options. And your source file is more like having your Microsoft Word file. So I'll call this one main.cpp. And this is, you'll see what's going on here in a second. Main.cpp is sort of like having your main text file for perhaps Microsoft Word, except in a .cpp file is where you put your C++ code. So I have a new blank page where I can type code into. CPP designates it as a C++ file. Now, there are a few settings you're going to want to change first before you make your first C++ project, and I'll show you right now, and maybe you'll be able to tell the difference very soon. So go up to Window, go to Preferences. You have a lot of little arrows here. Open the first one, General. Open the first arrow, Editors, and then click Text Editors. And now here we have some checkbox options. Go down the list, click Show Print Margin. Change that to 75, which will give you your margin for printing. It'll come in a little more, and it'll make it so you can print all your code out on a printer. And then click Show Line Numbers. This will be useful when you code. Click Apply. OK. Now we have a little line number here. We can make a bunch of little line numbers as we go down, which is one of the boxes we clicked. We also made a small line here, which is in our print margin. So now this looks more like a page. This way we'll be able to print out our code later. And these settings will be saved for our entire workspace. So let me make a code now. Some little code to help you understand how to code in C++. Okay, I've written a small piece of code for us to show us how to code in the IDE. Now, what the code says doesn't matter as much as what we're going to do with it while it's within the IDE. Now, this I can print it, I can save it, I can open it, but first I have to perform some of those actions first. So the first thing I'm going to do is save my work I've done. It's indicated that this is not saved because there's a little asterisk above my title. So I can either go to the save icon, I can say the save all icon, or I can use a keyboard shortcut as it designates in the save icon. But I'll just press the button. Now my work is saved. So what do I do with my saved code? Well, with C++, to make your code do something useful, you need to compile it. You'll hear this a lot in your first C++ class. How we compile things in the Eclipse IDE is pressing the build button, which is the little hammer, which will therefore build your code. Think of your code as a blueprint, think of the hammer as the construction workers. It's building the project, it's done. That's all it has to do. So now how do I make my code do something? In order to do that, you want it to run. To run our code, you go up to the little green arrow, just like you'd run a DVD player, or a Blu-ray player, or your TiVo, and you press play. The bottom of our screen has changed. It has opened up our console, which is our window that outputs things. So whenever we run our program, it'll open the console for us and it will display what our program has written. In this case, I wrote Hello World, like I had titled it, and Hello World has displayed in the console. Those are all the basic steps you need to learn for Eclipse. Printing is just as easy. You can go to File and then find Print when it's working, just like Microsoft Word. But then what do I want to do when I'm done with all this? So how do I go home is the thing that most of you are probably asking. Well, first of all, to be neat to yourself later when you have a lot more projects, you should probably close the project folder you've been working on. So to do that, you go to the folder and you right-click it, and then your whole list of options will come up. Go down to Close Project. That way, it's still stored there, but it's not going to have a big mess of projects that are open. And when you try to compile those, it'll try to compile them all together, and it'll just make a big mess of stuff. So if you close your projects, you'll be in good standing with yourself. And later, to open them, just to warn you, left clicking doesn't do anything. You're going to have to right click again and do open project. But that's for you to remember for later. To actually close the IDE, all you have to do is press X in the top right hand corner, and it asks you if you want to exit Eclipse. Select OK. You're safe. How do you access your files later? If you open Eclipse again, it'll ask you for your workspace like in the beginning, and you make sure it is pointing at your flash drive. All you need to do is click your flash drive, not the workspace folder or anything, just click the flash drive. And that will do it. Now, make sure before you leave your lab, you safely eject your USB device. You can do that in the options at the bottom right. Or you can go to Computer and then right click and eject it. And then make sure you decently log off for the next person so they can sign in. Try not to shut down the computer because it'll take longer for the next person to boot it up. But if you log up, it gives you the same prompting screen in the beginning as it did for you, which makes it nice and easy to log in. And now you're done with your work for the day. You can go home and relax.